Nightingale's big update 0.5 Realms Rebuilt is now live, and I'm going to be giving you the lowdown of everything that's been changed or added. Today's video is sponsored by Inflection, the makers of Nightingale. Do go and check the game out if you haven't seen it already. You'll find a link to the Steam page down below. And let's go. Everything new with Nightingale. An older update, but essential if you haven't returned to Nightingale in a while. Character creation is just a little bit softer and prettier now. I'm totally going to be breaking hearts with my blonde main here. Nightingale still hasn't changed in its core concept of being a Victorian lamp-punk fantasy game where you'll be fighting mythological creatures as you try and venture back to the fabled city of Nightingale after having been disconnected and stranded in a different world. So first thing you might notice is a revamp of the UI, making it much easier to move around either with a controller or your mouse. The beginning intro has you taking on a few bounds before once again meeting Puck, your guide through your adventures in Nightingale. So far, so same, but this is where it really starts to change. Previously, you would go through a number of tutorial realms to get you used to hopping between the different realms and utilising the portals, before eventually settling on choosing whether to start off in a desert, a forest or a swamp. Now everyone starts in a handcrafted world, which will be the Forest Abeyance. Inflection seems to have done this to really guide players more and get them invested more in the story, which is a ton of now with more NPCs and just overall a gorgeous world to begin exploring. That doesn't mean procedurally generated worlds have gone away completely. They will return. You'll be able to go and spin up the realms as before, but they will also be more fleshed out with more variety in the encounters that you come across and different ways that you'll now gain recipes and unlocks for new gear, weapons and buildables. During this preview window, I roped in one of my good pals, Katari. Go and check her out, Twitch streaming and her YouTube channel for some amazing builds, and we tackled the story and the first few realms together. Realm cards are still a massive feature, as said, for the procedural generated maps that you can have, but also still to go and give yourself certain buffs and different ways to play on the storied realms. You can use the realmic transmuters to change up whether or not you're going to get more resources from doing certain actions, make enemies easier, or give yourself more stamina. A great reminder of absolutely how stunning this game is, and now it's daylight you get to see the full visuals of how much the maps have changed. Nightingale has always been a stunning looking game, but it's even better now, not just the skyboxes but the vistas and overall sharpness and definition. This is the Crossways, a now permanent portal area that will give you access to these handcrafted storied realms whenever you want. You'll still be able to set up your own portal network if you really like, travelling between yours and your friends' worlds. But this is just adding another element now where you can really explore and engage with the story more if you want to. A big part of the game is that you now unlock a series of beginner weapons and gear if you just go and explore. These will be marked out as treasured items and they'll give you these items for free. Otherwise you'll have to spend some of the essence. Essence is still here, but it's not as easy to come by just by simply dismantling any of the basic resources like rocks and twigs. Inflection seem to want you to explore even more than ever before to find these points of interest, get some rewards along the way, and then utilise the essence to unlock new gear, new blueprints and advanced materials. This is all done now by the new tech tree. Gone is the boring list of trying to find certain traders in different realms and having to travel all the way across. Instead, you'll just simply buy it and unlock everything with your essence. There are different tiers, and some of these tiers of essence you won't be able to get until you travel to the future realms. But everything's really nicely done and streamlined so you can really take a good look at progression and see the types of tools and weapons you'll be unlocking next. You'll gain essence by completing these points of interest, taking on certain enemies and obviously following the quest, and you really don't want to have to engage too much with the freebies on the map. You can just simply go ahead and buy them for a small price of the essence. But it's definitely encouraged to take a good look at the new revamped handcrafted maps, as essence is needed for a whole ton of crafting still. Something that surprised me in a great way was how little actually the reliance was on this being a full-blown survival game. Now it's got story added to it and progression and clearly streamlined goals. It definitely felt more RPG, and that isn't a bad thing. Of course, you will still be gathering resources, taking down ore stones to get multiple different metals, hunting creatures and chopping lots of trees. But it definitely didn't feel as grindy, not in the early stages at least. One of my favourite new additions is the consumable radial wheel. This is how you can choose different potions and foods, and it acts like its own inventory. So anytime you're in the action you need a quick heal, you can just simply press one button, no more fiddling around trying to work out which item you're using. The hotbar has had a revamp as well, 7 slots now to hold all your different tools and then 3 offhand slots for things like your umbrella or lamps. And again, just really enhances the combat mechanics so that you're not always getting lost trying to choose the wrong weapon. Combat has changed, it's definitely more responsive now over the last few updates in fact, and a lot more variety in the enemies. That was a heart that you have to destroy, otherwise the bound will carry on spawning, and it adds a bit more urgency to these types of encounters. I'm here at one of the brand new settlements where you'll find a whole host of NPCs, and again areas that you can take over and live in if you're not really into base building. There's distinct advantages in coming to some of these places, as they often have lots of crafting benches that you might not still have, or maybe upgraded ones. While there's still no voice acting in the game apart from Puck, it definitely is more fleshed out story and side quests that actually feel more interesting. Traders no longer unlock different recipes by selling you augments and more, instead it will be resources and items that you can buy from them. All progression is now tied to the blueprint system, which is a much needed change. Instead of having to visit 20 different realms and basically hurtling towards traders as quickly as you could, they're now here just to give you a boost in items that you might want instead, and you'll still find them across the landscapes and the realms that you visit. All brand new characters will be offering some of these side quests and missions, and some of them have multi-parts to them. Really does feel like more of a story-led game than simply just leaving you to your own devices or only going by a checklist that you found through the one NPC. Another great change is the sleep mechanics. You can now change the difficulty anytime you sleep. So want more challenging experience and maybe to earn more essence, then you can boost the difficulty level. So you don't have to spin up a completely fresh new realm just to change difficulty, and it's no longer tied to the resources that respawn. You don't have to put it on a hard setting just to go and find a really high tier item. The blueprint building system is still here, but it's had much big improvements, as shown off by my friend Katari's cozy little home she built for us. The build sets are all here, with a new one being added as part of the late stage game, but more importantly the build limit has been massively increased. It's much more coherent and simple now to check whether or not you're anywhere close to the build limit with a setting that you can turn on, as it's off by default in the settings. But you've basically got 3 to 4 times the amount of buildables that you can now place, as well as all the different crafting benches having been streamlined again. So you really should be able to build the estate of your dreams, whether or not you're playing solo or with your friends. Crafting is still much the same, but the reliance on augmentations to unlock recipes has now gone. Instead, these will only give you boosts for the armor that you craft, the weapons that you make, and any other kind of processing. They've been streamlined and categorized as well, so you don't have to decorate your home with useless soot if you really don't want to. Simply one of some of these augments will do the job, depending on what it is you're actually trying to craft and make. It's a massive improvement on, again, going to all the different traders and trying to work out which kind of decoration would unlock special ammo or certain pieces of gear. Now that's all really just clearly laid out in the blueprint tech tree. The unique combined crafting options are still there though. When you want to make a more powerful item, you can use different resources to give yourself more buffs with magic, stamina, melee damage, ranged, or whatever it is you want. It's then all just about finding them rarer resources that are going to be more specific to your build. But in general, the crafting overhaul has had a good impact on the UI as well, making it much more simpler and easier to navigate and use. Climbing picks were added a good few updates ago, and they are fantastic for getting across some of the more difficult cliffs. You'll start with a pretty rusty pair that won't necessarily get you too far, but they do have grapple hooks equipped to make light work of maybe some of the higher areas. Coming up to this vista viewpoint and really seeing the difference in the map as I looked around shows how stunning the world really can be. No longer spending half your game time in menus, instead it's about exploration, getting rewards as you explore, taking part in more varied and interesting quests as well as interactions. And yes, gliding with your umbrella is still here and as fun as ever. There's been a whole host of new spells and items added as well. We've now got bows, which I'll show off in a second, new spells that you can throw yourself, and again for the first time since its launch I managed to play and mess around with bombs that got added in a previous update. All in all, enemies do respond more now to when getting hit. Combat does feel tighter. and really do notice the difference in the enemies as you progress, how rare they can be. Picking up essence obviously is super important still, and getting as much of it as you can in the early stages to get all of the new unlocks, but it's not something that you have to absolutely grind massive amounts just to get by. You'll be surprised how much you can gain just by simply following the first few quests rather than hunting out certain places and completing any of the encounters that you find. Huge improvement since its launch has been updates giving followers more different tasks that they can perform and basically making sure you keep control of them a little bit better. Have them follow you, have they stay clear, gather resources, not go and put your most expensive wood inside a furnace. The options are nice and simple for now. Previous updates have already added and expanded on crafting from storage and building from storage, and you can control what you want taken from boxes, so again you don't accidentally make the mistake of using your best resources to craft something simple. Even more pets have been added to the game now as part of Realms Rebuilt, over 20 of these cute little critters, which you'll unlock via the blueprint system buying their little beds. They still give you little rewards when you go ahead and pet them, instead of maybe trying to chop their heads off. The new glamour station allows you to go ahead and customise any of your gear to make it look like anything else, which you can do by gaining glamour tokens, rewards that you'll find when completing certain points of interest or certain dungeons. Looks like it's going to be fleshed out even more to allow proper customization in changing colours of our certain gear without maybe having to use certain materials, or at least add even more details. But another great benefit is you can use this to go ahead and hide certain pieces of gear as well, like removing your backpack from view. I thought this was a really cool feature. If you like the idea of having a good full armour set but maybe don't want your character to have a hat ruining your lovely hair, then you can hide it away. Lots of improvements and additions were added with weapons, having the ability with the scythe to beat and give more damage, and more starter shotguns in the blunderbuss. There's a whole new set of different armours and weapons as well added as part of the mid to late game, as well as the addition of bows. You'll come across 3 different types of bows that you can craft, each obviously progressing and giving you more damage as you go. While maybe not revolutionary in a survival game having a bow, it certainly does give a bit more precision for ranged characters in the early game. Especially good for taking out these hearts to stop more enemies from spawning if you've got a good aim. It's pretty forgiving to be honest as well. The actual flight path of them and the hitboxes seems pretty good, so yeah, you can have potato aim like me and still feel like Legolas. Dangers will still be everywhere, but there's definitely more of the apex creatures roaming around, or special mini bosses that you'll just find as you explore the realms. Help with that, you've got brand new spells. This is Milion, and it's a spell that you can put on any weapon and then just go ahead and fire like a traditional fireball spell. There's a number of these spells been added, including one where you can make a fish land on an enemy. Yes, a fish. Sites of power are now larger and more complex and absolutely more epic. These are the places that you'll go ahead and unlock new areas and take on bosses. There seems to be a lot more variety as well in the different ways that you progress through these different sites of power. Either defending certain points or trying to find the hearts and again destroy it and hopefully not have any more bound spawn. So it's really nice to see these dungeons being revamped. Still quite challenging as ever, but the game does set you up as a default mode on easy, so you may want to put it on a slightly higher level just to make sure you're getting more essence. The difficulty scaling on Realms Rebuilt at the moment is quite easy, so I definitely recommend putting it up a notch. As said, there are brand new apex creatures as well as new boss fights and arenas. The Jabberwock is one of the first bosses you'll now encounter. A ranged trickster that can generate multiple versions of itself, and you have to try and work out which one's the correct one to hopefully wait on it. It's a fun first fight for sure, and definitely mixes up the meta from just the first previous bosses we had at Nightingale's launch. And this is just one of many new boss fights added to the others that are already in the game. You can replay these boss fights as well, although you won't get as many rewards in terms of essence, you still get something from the chest that you encounter each time you defeat them. And killing this one unlocked the next stage where we could travel to the next realm. So don't forget your loot as you go past. This is how you'll progress in the story, giving you access to the next realm. The Lodestar portals are relatively new or been renamed as they were added in previous update, but can be placed down yourself once you unlock them, or used across different areas of the map once you find them out in the world. Back at the Crossways, it really is absolutely gorgeous seeing this environment and seeing the way the portals will light up, again giving clear direction and a hint about how many of these storied realms we will encounter as the game carries on during its early access run. There's at least 9 of these portal stones, meaning we've got a whole wave of new content incoming still. This might be the 0.5 update, but Nightingale clearly has big plans with the rest of its early access launch and beyond. The next realm provided even more moody atmosphere, unless you're going to immediately change it with the Realmic Transmuter, gorgeous mixing of colours and obviously giving us certain buffs. Everything just feels so much more scaled up and epic. After a quick pit stop to gather some resources like wood and some more of the ores and crystals, came across another settlement and another opportunity if you're really not into base building to make something like this your home or give you some ideas about your own estate. There was still much to do on the previous realm, but I was ploughing forward to see how much more content had been added, and there just literally is tons. Doctor Who fans and Weeping Angels I'm sure will like this cathedral, and there's a lot more story added even more than before, recording adventures from previous realm walkers and fleshing out more about the world of Nightingale. And that's what I'm really enjoying about this update. It really fleshes out whether or not you want to just plough through the content, not really be focused too much on base building, gathering tons of resources, or more like a traditional survival game where you're going to min-max and try and get the best gear going by making sure you're hunting down the best resources. With the addition of more quests and more meaningful quests, it really does feel like Nightingale's a much wholer game. You're still going to come across resources you won't be able to get until you get better gear, and the variety in the different types of resources is still there for players that really want to take advantage of making the best builds they can. But everything has just been made a little bit clearer and a little bit more simpler along the way. The difficulty ramps up a bit here with bears absolutely one-shotting me. And I really did notice the ramp up of difficulty as I started to progress, which was needed. After gaining more quests from more of the NPCs, it was a quick return to home to recount on my potions and make sure I had better gear. The different Bastilles are still here as well, and obviously, like I said, been fleshed out a lot more and made just a bit more interesting. We'll have to destroy even more secret walls to see better loot and progress through completing them. But this one was part of a quest to go ahead and heal a Canute with a maleficent sickness taking root on it, giving us a nice tutorial on crafting some of the potions we would need as well. Venturing out at night is still maybe not the best idea, especially with so much more bound around, and it's going to be important to really make sure you are playing the right realm cards for any specific task, but not something you have to micromanage as much as before. And no, they haven't removed these annoying big sword guys. Another temple to clear and another bout of corruption to get rid of, hoping to cleanse these roots. Another dungeon complete, and it was time to take on our second boss. This guy was pretty scary, although I'm not going to show too much more of the fight. I'll let you experience it for yourself, but yeah, nightmare fuel for days. With that boss's tentacle snipped, it was time to venture to the third realm. And again, perhaps showing really the massive changes that have gone into making these maps more interesting. Just look at the verticalness of this Welkin's Well. Utilising these jump off points now to get around, you'll have to think carefully about where to traverse, make sure you don't go into clouds of corruption. With a more challenged experience here, trying to work out how we can gain access to the Site of Power by completing some of the quests in and around, and again finding more NPCs to talk to. And that's where we're pretty much going to leave this preview video / guide advertisement. Absolutely love Nightingale, have always loved it, always felt it had so much potential despite some of the obviously flaws that a lot of players may have found. I think this update Realms Rebuilt does go a long way to making this game a huge, much more enjoyable experience for many. It's 40% off at the moment on Steam as of this recording, and I'm even more excited now about the future of Nightingale with more realms, more biomes and more story to come. So if you're thinking of picking it up for the first time now with all the improvements, do go and use the link down below in the comment section and description box, and I'll be pretty much going live every day for the next 7 days, 5-hour streams, giving you the lowdown, everything you need to know about Nightingale. Thanks again to Inflection for the opportunity to take a preview look at this, and I'll see you guys as we explore more realms together in the future. Bye bye.